Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Let's have a look over the Demon Beast Canyon, which is the first Abyssal dungeon in Lost Ark. We will go through everything you need to know about the dungeon before going in, and if you like what you're seeing here on this channel, then a like on the video will be appreciated. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into the video. So Demon Beast Canyon is the first Abyssal dungeon that you'll encounter into the game, and in order to be able to access the dungeon there are a few requirements, like you need to be at least level 50, have the Northern main story questline completed, and also achieve a minimum item level of 340. Once you've done all of these, you go to the Abyssal dungeon pylon, which can be found in any major city, like for example in Vern Castle. It is over here on the map, and you can enter the dungeon from the menu that comes up, either by using matchmaking or joining as a party. Please note that you will need a party of 4 people, as this content cannot be done solo. With the requirements and intro out of the way, let's talk about the dungeon itself. The first trash mob phase is pretty straightforward, just a couple of mobs that you'll need to kill. The only noticeable thing being this big guy right here, which can do this forward spin attack that can do a little bit of damage, so it's better to avoid it by not staying in its path. After clearing the trash mobs, we are finally reaching the first boss, Corrupted Vezuela. Starting off with a quick tip, it's better to not use any abilities when the boss spawns, because he will be immune to damage for about 4 to 5 seconds. Moving on to the basic mechanics, and we'll begin with this charging attack pattern. Once the boss has done charging the attack, a blood wave will appear around him, and players will have a decent amount of time to get out of it to avoid taking damage. Please note that the blood wave will linger on the ground for about 2 more seconds, so stay out of it until it goes away. For the next basic mechanic, the boss will be glowing blue, indicating that he's about to start rolling forward, dealing damage and knocking players up into the air if they get hit. However, the blue glowing effect means that the attack can be stopped with a counter from the front. To find out which of your abilities can do a counter attack, simply look for the one that has counter in its tooltip. After the roll mechanic is over, either by counter-attacking the boss or by letting him do the mechanic, the boss will simply stay on the ground, so that's a good opportunity for you to do some big damage. For the last basic, the boss will occasionally fly up into the air and the red pattern will appear on the ground, indicating the place where he's about to land, followed by a big red ring on the outside. You only have a short reaction time to avoid both of these attacks, and the best strategy is to simply get to the edge of the red circle and then quickly go back towards the boss to dodge the second attack. This boss doesn't have any wipe mechanic, but there is a major one that will be going on through the entire fight, and that has to do with the blue marks and the blood pools on the ground that will do damage to anyone who stands into them. One random player will get a blue mark on top of their head, meaning that after a short delay a blood pool will be created at the player's location when the mark disappears. If you are the player with the mark, simply go to the outer edge of the room to avoid placing the pool in the fighting area. Keep in mind that these blood pools will stay on the ground for the entire fight. However, there is one way to get rid of them, and that's by simply depleting the boss' purple stagger bar that can be found below the boss's health, and this bar can only be depleted by using items or abilities that deal stagger damage. That's pretty much all of it for the first boss, so let's move on to the next trash mobs phase. There's not too much to say about it, you just kill a bunch of monsters in different rooms in order to proceed, and there will be 2 big guys in the end that shouldn't really be a problem. And we finally made our way to the last boss of the dungeon, Scarquill. This one has more attacks and patterns than the previous boss, including a wipe mechanic that we will talk about later. For almost the entire fight, it is better to stay close and behind the boss, as most of his basic attacks will be in front of him. For example, he has this hook chain attack that will push players away from him. He can do this swipe, followed by 5 orbs that go in a cone shape, and this frontal shockwave that has a longer cast duration but deals some serious amount of damage. The boss will also target a random player, and he will do a teleport combo, which includes the teleport itself, followed by an uppercut and a swing that does damage and will push players away from him. Please note that on this one you can perform a counter attack. There's a vacuum pattern which only covers left and right side of the boss, so again, staying behind the boss will help a lot, as this is a great opportunity for dealing damage. The ground explosions are marked by small red patterns on the ground which will explode after a short delay. Simply stay out of them to avoid taking damage. Moving on to the major mechanics, and the first one is called Leeching Circles. All attacks from the boss have a chance to trigger this red circle and place a debuff on you. When it goes off, make sure that you are away from your teammates, because it will cause an explosion that deals damage to the other players. The second major mechanic is Stealth Mode, and this mechanic can cause the entire party to wipe if it's not done correctly. The boss will gain these absorption stacks throughout the entire fight, and when he reaches 6 stacks, the mechanic will begin. Multiple orbs will spawn on the edge of the room, and once this happens, all players need to gather around and move either clockwise or counterclockwise to each one of the orbs without attacking them. Skarkril will eventually teleport to a random player and perform his spin attack, which will destroy the orb, causing him to get hit by the explosion, which will apply a stack of magic core energy. Make sure to dash away from the orb after the boss teleports, otherwise you'll get caught in the explosion and you will take a massive amount of damage. You need to do this until the boss gains 4 stacks of magic core energy, which will stagger the boss, leaving you with another great opportunity to deal damage. I actually have one quick tip about the orb's spawn location. The first 4 orbs will spawn in an X pattern at 2, 4, 8 and 10 on the clock. If the boss doesn't gain 4 stacks of magic core energy, another wave of orbs will spawn, this time in a cross pattern, starting at north, then east, south and west. In case you are struggling with this mechanic, try communicating with your party members before the fight starts and pick one orb and the rotation direction that we will go for. That's pretty much all you need to know about the dungeon, and if you have any questions, then feel free to ask them in the comment section. And as always, if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.